Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to use random numbers to basically place this token. This is my coin basically. When I touch it, it's going to be spawned in a random spot on this plane. Now, before we get into code, I want to just explain something here. I've used a plane for this demo instead of a cube like we've been using in class. There's no reason you can't use either one. Um, but when I created the plane is quite a bit bigger than the cube when you spawn it. So a plane is 10 units. You can count these little blocks here, 10 by 10. So when I scaled it up to a scale of 10 by 10 this way, it's actually like 100 units by 100 units. So my grid is 100 by 100. And so because of that, you're going to have to figure out the math and you know, if your cube is 2 by 2 and you multiply it by 20, then you've got a 40 by 40 grid, right? So a little bit of math there, but it's important to know the size of your playable area because I don't want this coin to spawn way out here. That's pretty unfair. Um, so what I want to do is I actually want to not only not spawn it out here, I don't want to spawn it at the edge like this because it's pretty difficult to grab without going off the end. So I'm going to go, you know, negative 40 here. I'm going to leave like a padding of 10 units all the way to 40 over here. So that's what I did in my script. And I've actually already written the script, so I will just jump over to that now. It's pretty straightforward. So the new thing is obviously going to be this random object. um, this is using the system random, so we've all seen this using system namespace up top. The problem is that Unity Engine has its own random called the exact same thing. So if I leave this off, if I were not to do this, what's going to happen is when I save it, if I go over here and try to run it, it's going to say I have errors. And the errors I'm getting are Unity Engine Random does not contain a definition for next double. So this now became a Unity Engine Random instead of a system random. So since we still need this in here for our mono behavior, I have to leave this in. Basically it's confused. It doesn't know which random I'm working with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define it. I'm going to say when I say random, using random here, what I really mean is system.random. So that's going to be new for most of you. Now when I say random, there we go. I'm getting well, it doesn't show it, but I'm actually getting the .NET random. And I like this one a little bit better just because it's the one I'm more familiar with. And the only function we're really going to use after I instantiate this object here, so I'm creating a private random called lowercase random, and instantiating that equals new random. And I'm using this trigger enter, so basically when the player touches whatever this is attached to, in this case our coin or my pink cube, it's going to check, was it the player? This really isn't necessary for our game. The only reason it would be necessary if it was flush up against the floor. It might cause some errors there, but if we were going to add to this game, this would become necessary because I don't want you know, enemies or something grabbing the coins. Or maybe you do. I don't know. So the way this works is this next double function gives me a double between 0.0 all the way through 1.0. And so what I'm doing is I'm multiplying this by 80 because remember I said I want to go from negative 40 all the way up to 40. So if I multiply this range times 80, what am I going to get? Well, I'm going to get something between 0, because 0 times 80 is 0, right? To 80.0. Right? So that's now my range. But this is too high, So I just need to offset it to the left, and that's why I'm subtracting 40 here. So if I subtract 40, now I'm getting negative 40.0 all the way to positive 40.0. So that's my range. I don't want you to confuse this with a negative sign. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically all I'm doing is grabbing that random double, multiplying it by 80, subtracting 40. Now the reason I have to cast this to a float is because down here when I actually create the vector, these have to be floating points. So I could keep this as a double, I guess. This would have to be double, double, and then cast it to a float down here. But it's going to need to be done at some point anyway. So at this point, I'm getting the transform for whatever script this, whatever game object this is attached to. Usually we do this in the start function, and there's no reason you couldn't do that. I just figure that since this trigger enter is going to be happening so far and few between, that we're not really losing anything by storing it. So if you want to do the trans the way we normally do it in class, that works too. It's kind of a horse apiece, to be honest. And the last step is then just taking this trans, setting the position to our new x, y, and z. The y I just want to be constant. What I did is I came out to my game and it said, oh, well, y is at 3.5. That seems like a good place to put it. Let's put it there. So that's my script. It's pretty straightforward. Yours should look somewhat like it. Your numbers will probably be quite a bit different based on how big you stretch your cube and whatnot. So I'll see you guys in class.